The sound of shattering glass and cruel laughter was nothing new in that roadside diner, but tonight, the target was Sarah, a single mother just 2 shifts away from eviction. What the 4 grinning bullies didn't know was that the storm door was about to open, and walking in was a silent man with winter-gray eyes, a German shepherd at his side, and a past that specialized in making monsters disappear. The rain sheeting down on the highway made the Elm Street Diner sign flicker like a dying pulse. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of old grease and fresh coffee, a haven for truckers and late-night stragglers. Sarah moved between the vinyl booths with a tired grace, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. Every tip in the jar on the counter was counted in her head already, a mental ledger against the landlord's final notice tucked in her apron. Her son, Caleb, was home with a neighbor, probably asleep. She just had to get through this. Table 6 was the problem. 4 young men, college-aged by the look of their fraternity letters, had been growing louder for an hour, fueled by bottomless cups of coffee and a sense of impunity. Their leader was a guy named Chase, with a jawline he obviously considered his best feature and a voice meant to dominate rooms. They'd been making comments since they sat down, about the food, the decor, about her. "Hey, sweetheart, my eggs are colder than your smile. Warm them up, or maybe just warm up my lap," Chase had said earlier, his friends guffawing. Sarah had swallowed it, serving them with a blank politeness that only seemed to egg them on. The final straw was the milkshake. She was delivering it to an elderly trucker at the counter when Chase stuck out his foot. She stumbled, the large glass shaking, but she managed to set it down without spilling a drop. The relief was short-lived. "Clumsy bitch," Chase yelled, standing up. "You almost got that on my jacket. This is designer." He gestured to his windbreaker, the kind sold in every mall in America. "I'm sorry, sir." You tripped me," Sarah said, her voice quiet but clear. "Are you calling me a liar?" he thundered, stepping into the aisle. His friends formed a half-circle behind him, a wall of smirking aggression. The diner fell silent, save for the hiss of the grill. The other customers, a few weary travelers and the trucker, looked down at their plates. No one moved. Chase picked up his own half-finished chocolate milkshake from the table. "I think you need to cool off. Apologize properly." He took a step closer. Sarah froze, bracing for the humiliation. With a vicious grin, he appended the thick, cold shake over her head. It dripped down her face, into her uniform, a sticky, brown river of degradation. His friends roared with laughter, one pulling out his phone to record. "Look at her. The Sunday special," he crowed. Sarah stood there, trembling, the cold shock rooting her to the spot, hot tears mixing with the ice cream. This was more than a prank, it was an annihilation. And the camera phone made it eternal. That was the moment the storm door opened with a gust of wet wind. A man walked in, followed closely by a large, sleek German shepherd. The man was not overly tall, but he carried a density, a stillness that immediately altered the room's atmosphere. He wore a simple olive-drab jacket, dark jeans, and boots. His hair was cropped short, his face was weathered and lined in a way that spoke of sun and salt, not age. But it was his eyes that people noticed first. They were a pale, flinty gray, scanning the room in one swift, comprehensive pass that missed nothing: the shaking waitress, the grinning young men, the cowed patrons, the phone held aloft. The dog was equally still, a shadow at his heel. It wasn't a pet. It was a piece of finely tuned equipment, its intelligent eyes mirroring its handler's assessment. They moved to an empty booth by the window, the man ignoring the spectacle for the moment. He sat, the dog sliding underneath the table, out of sight but palpably present. Chase, emboldened by his audience and the new arrival's apparent indifference, turned back to Sarah. "Clean yourself up, sweetheart. And bring us another round of fries. On the house, for our trouble." Sarah, wiping shake from her eyes with a trembling hand, could only nod, her spirit broken. She turned to fetch a towel. As she passed the new customer's booth, his voice stopped her. It was low, calm, devoid of all emotion. "Ma'am." She turned. He was looking not at her face, but at the mess on her uniform. "I'll have a black coffee, please. And a bowl of water for my friend." She nodded mutely and hurried away. The bullies, finding their fun momentarily interrupted, now focused on the new source of potential entertainment. "Nice dog," Chase called over. "You a cop? Or just a wannabe?" The man didn't look at him. He accepted the coffee from Sarah with a quiet "thank you," his eyes softening for a fraction of a second when he saw her red-rimmed eyes. He poured the water into the bowl Sarah brought and set it under the table. A low, appreciative lap could be heard. Chase, frustrated by the lack of reaction, decided to escalate. He sauntered over, his friends in tow. "I'm talking to you, man. That's rude. We're having a conversation here." The man finally looked up. His gaze was like a physical pressure. "Your conversation seemed one-sided." And concluded. "Go sit down." Chase laughed, a nervous, forced sound. "Or what? You gonna sick your dog on me? I'll have it put down." He reached a hand towards the booth, as if to grab the man's shoulder. It never got close. From under the table, there was a deep, rumbling growl that vibrated in the floorboards. It wasn't a loud, barking threat. It was the sound of a door to a very dark room being cracked open. Chase snatched his hand back. The man hadn't moved a muscle. "Sit down," the man repeated, each word a stone dropping into a still pond. For a second, Chase wavered. But the eyes of his friends, the recording phone now pointed at this new drama, pushed him past his sense of self-preservation. "You don't tell me what to do. I think you and your mutt need to leave." He raised his voice, turning to the room. "This guy's threatening me. I'm just defending myself." The man took a slow sip of his coffee, then set the mug down with a deliberate click. He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod under the table. The German shepherd slid out and stood beside him. It didn't bark, didn't snarl. It just looked at Chase, its body a tense, focused line. The message was unmistakable. "Last chance," the man said. "Apologize to the waitress. Pay your bill. Leave." Chase, now pale but locked in, made his worst mistake. "Screw you, and screw that whore in the apron." He spat on the floor near the dog. The man moved. It wasn't a flashy movie move. It was economical, devastatingly fast. He was out of the booth, and his left hand shot out, not a fist, but an open-handed strike that caught Chase on the side of the neck, a precise, neural shock that dropped him to his knees, gasping for air. One of Chase's friends, a big guy with a thick neck, lunged. The man pivoted, using the friend's momentum to guide him face first into the edge of the counter with a sickening thud. He slid down, out cold. The third swung a wild punch. The man caught the fist, twisted it in a way that looked gentle but made the boy scream, and shoved him into the fourth, sending them both sprawling into a heap in the aisle. The whole thing took less than 8 seconds. The silence now was absolute, broken only by Chase's ragged wheezing and the soft whimper of the third bully cradling his wrist. The man stood over Chase, who was kneeling in the spilled milkshake and his own spit. The dog stood at his side, watchful. "You spat on a United States Navy SEAL's K-9, the man said, his voice still that terrifying calm. "That dog has more honor, service, and courage in one paw than you will in your entire lifetime. You called a hard-working mother a whore. You think you're men. You're shadows. Now, you will do what I said. You will apologize. You will pay. And you will never come back here." Chase, tears of pain and humiliation in his eyes, croaked out a "sorry" to Sarah, who was standing behind the counter, her hands over her mouth. His friends fumbled wallets, throwing cash and cards onto the table, helping chase up, dragging their unconscious friend. They scrambled for the door like rats, the one with the phone dropping it in his panic. The screen was cracked, but still recording on the floor. The man, the SEAL, picked up the phone, stopped the recording, and placed it on the counter. He then returned to his booth as if nothing had happened. The German Shepherd followed and lay down again. The diner erupted in muted chatter, the released tension buzzing. The trucker at the counter nodded gravely at the SEAL. "Thank you, brother," he said. The SEAL nodded back. Sarah approached the booth, a fresh pot of coffee in her hand. Her tears were flowing freely now, but they were tears of relief, of a sudden, overwhelming gratitude. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. No one has ever." "It's all right, ma'am," he said, and for the first time, a faint, tired smile touched his eyes. "Some people need to be reminded how to be human." She poured him more coffee with a shaking hand. "Your coffee, it's on the house. For as long as you want it." He thanked her again. She hesitated, then asked, "Your dog, does he have a name?" "Kaiser," the man said, reaching down to scratch the dog's ears. "And I'm Ben." Over the next hour, as the diner slowly returned to normal, Ben sat quietly. Sarah brought him a slice of pie, on the house. He ate it methodically. When she had a quiet moment, she came back over. "You saved me more than you know. Not just from them. From giving up." Ben looked out at the rainy night. Everyone has a breaking point. Nobody should be pushed to theirs by someone having a bad day at the playground. He fell silent for a long moment, as if deciding something. Then he spoke, his voice lower. "That kid, with his phone. He wanted a viral moment. He got one. But he recorded something else." Ben gestured to the cracked phone on the counter. "He recorded his own defeat. But more than that, he recorded proof. For you." Sarah looked confused. "Proof?" Ben's flinty eyes met hers. "The way he tripped you. The assault with the milkshake. The verbal threats. It's all on that phone. You press charges, that's all the evidence you need. And with 4 witnesses in here willing to back you up now, including me, those boys aren't just looking at a misdemeanor. Assault, attempted intimidation, maybe even a hate crime enhancement depending on the DA. They'll have to plead out. And part of that plea will be a settlement. A substantial one. For you and your son." Sarah's knees felt weak. She gripped the back of the booth. "My son. How did you?" Ben gave another small, sad smile. "Your apron pocket. The corner of a drawing. Crayon. It says, 'I love Mom,' with a heart. Only a kid does that. And you have that look. The look of someone fighting for more than themselves." It was the twist Sarah never saw coming. The humiliation wasn't just stopped, it was being transformed into a weapon for her future. The video meant to destroy her would now fund her escape, her security. The sob that escaped her was one of profound, world-altering relief. But the story had one final twist, one that even Ben didn't see coming. As Sarah was processing this life-changing information, the bell on the door jingled. A state trooper walked in, shaking rain off his hat. He was middle-aged, with a kind, competent face. He glanced around, his eyes settling on the minor disarray. He was about to speak when his gaze landed on Ben and the dog under the table. The trooper's eyes widened in recognition, not of a face, but of a type. The posture, the calm, the animal. "Evening, folks," the trooper said, walking to the counter. He nodded to Sarah. "Got a call from a motorist about a disturbance. Some kid screaming about a maniac with an attack dog." His eyes drifted back to Ben. "Everything all right here?" Sarah found her voice, strong now. Everything's fine, officer. Some customers were disorderly. But they've been dealt with. And they paid. She gestured to the overflowing cash on table 6. The trooper nodded slowly. He walked over to Ben's booth. Sir. Ben looked up. Officer. I couldn't help but notice your companion. That's a fine animal. Military working dog? Former, Ben said. The trooper's expression shifted to one of deep respect. I was a K-9 handler in the Corps. Before the state police. I know the look. Of both of you. He extended his hand. Thank you for your service. To the country, and tonight, to this diner. Ben shook his hand. Just having coffee. The trooper smiled. Right. He turned to Sarah. Ma'am, if you wish to press charges, that phone is evidence. I'd be happy to take a statement and ensure it gets to the right people. Sometimes, he said, looking pointedly at the broken phone, technology bites back at the wrong people. With the trooper's official presence, the final piece clicked into place. This was no longer just a story about a good Samaritan. It was a story with legal teeth, with a path to justice that was real and enforceable. The bully's nightmare was just beginning, and Sarah's new dawn was officially here. Ben finished his coffee, left $100 bill under the mug, a tip Sarah tried desperately to refuse but he insisted, and stood. Kaiser emerged, ready. He gave a final nod to Sarah, a soldier's nod to the trooper, and walked out into the diminishing rain, a quiet shadow and his loyal partner melting back into the night from whence they came. He left behind a restored peace, a shattered phone full of damning evidence, and a woman whose life had just been irrevocably changed, not just by an act of protection, but by an unexpected roadmap to justice and a future secure for her and her son. Storytellers sign off. And that, everyone, is how a night meant for cruelty was rewritten by courage, both the two-legged and four-legged kind. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? The quiet hero at the next booth, the unseen battles everyone is fighting. To all of you watching, I'd love to know, where are you joining us from tonight? Drop your state in the comments, whether you're in the sunny coasts of California, the bustling cities of New York, or the wide-open plains of Texas. Your stories are out there, too. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because more stories of unexpected justice are coming your way.